circumstances. All right. Well, here it comes then, everybody. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show, which happens now.
ファミリーコンピューターにエキサイトバイク登場。ファミリーコンピューターエキサイトバイク。
Excitebike 64. Get serious air. Rated E for everyone.
Good Lord. Well, hello there, and welcome to Play Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Johnson, and I'm one of your hosts, Scott Johnson. I read that twice. And these hills are very funky. So in my bike engine, so is my bike engine. It overheats all the time, and it makes me want to throw this cartridge through the wall. But I won't because I still need to clear this level, avoid the mud, and kick the other riders in the chotch. My bike is excited, and I am excited too. If my name was Mike, I would be called Excite Mike.
It sounds like a letter you wrote to your girlfriend or something in 8th grade. And I'm your other host, Brian Dunaway, and I'm about to burn some 8-bit rubber on my bad motor scooter from left to right as fast as Nintendo horizontal scrolling will allow me, and I'm overheated. No worries, I can just pull off onto the side of the track, and oh my god, this is taking forever. Miyamoto, go already. Okay, this is not a top 3 performance. Reset.
Hold on. Miyamoto, was he involved directly in the making of this thing?
Was he involved directly with Miyamoto's the man, my friend? This is what inspired some Super Mario stuff. What Excitebike is so important to the history of gaming, but you're going to learn all about that just shortly. We have a bunch of
we'll tell you about
tidbits.
Tell you about it in a second. It's going to be great.
A bunch of little tiddlywinks you didn't know.
You'll get to hear this. Anyway. Let's get to some stuff before we dive in there. We got some things that happened this week. I grabbed, because it went up this week, and I was very curious about it. I don't know what to put on there yet. I haven't even played it yet. But the PPSSPP app.
What, does that emulate the PSP?
It does.
PPSSPP?
Even though it sounds like something you're trying to call a cat. But yeah, it's a PSP app on iOS. I guess it's been around for a while on Android. Now that iOS can get these things, everybody's rushing around grabbing all the ones that come out. Also, RetroArch came out this week.
On there. All on iOS.
Yeah, kind of a big whoop for iOS fans. So anyway, I will figure out something. Thing is, with these touchscreen games like this, when I'm emulating them, I kind of need slow turn-based, not twitchy, requiring me to have really precision controls. Like, I wouldn't play Excitebike on freaking Delta. That's a bad idea, I think.
I thought about it, but then I decided against it, because you're right, because Excitebike had to go up and down constantly with that D-pad, and that's difficult to rocker that thing.
Yeah,
you can't. It's not, doesn't rocker very well.
No, it's not simple. So as a result, you need to save your I think your phone emulation for stuff that's a little on the slower side. But anyway, I'm going to try it out. I think I'm going to put Hot Shots Golf on there, a game I own.
That's smart. That's a good one.
A game I own and have legally dumped the ROM from.
Okay. Yeah. So also I got to ask. If you get the chance, are you going to go a full on crazy and put your UMD of Spider-Man in there?
Oh, I wonder if it can
watch
emulate
it. You
those.
can watch the worst copy of Spider-Man ever there on your phone.
Can it do that? Can you put a UMD ripped file in that thing and have it play it? That would be amazing.
I don't see why not. I mean, that's how you rip the ROMs, right? They're just on UMD disc.
They're just UMDs, yeah, they're all the same thing. All right, well, we'll see. I also had a copy of Fifth Element on there. I don't know where that went.
Oh, did you really? Did you like the game or the UMD?
The movie, UMD.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to have.
What is UMD for again? Is
Universal Media Disc? No, Universal Media Disc, I think is what they called it.
Okay.
And it did not.
That's such a lie, because it's not universal at all.
No, that was wishful.
Very specific to this device.
That was wishful thinking, is what that was on Sony's part. And they do that all the time with their freaking memory sticks. Oh, it's a stick full of memory? Great, the whole world will use it. No, only you did.
Only you did, fool.
You poo-poo heads. And they were so expensive. Do you remember getting a Vita and trying to buy expansion memory for that thing? Oh,
absolutely. Oh. I mean, yeah, it was so good. It was. That was such a fun game of Can you find a Sony memory disc that costs $100 and holds 2 games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the boss fight was that. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Brian, you got up to some dirty business. What have you been doing this week?
Oh, so this week, my week turned around near the end because I had some things I was working on earlier this week, but then it all turned around when Aaron hit me up last week and just asked a question. I was like, "Hey, Brian," I was like, "What?" He's like, "What do you think about Ultimate Atari Fight Stick?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool, dude." And he's like, "Yeah, I can send you one.
What?
Just if you just cover if you can just cover shipping." I'm like, "What?"
Aaron?
Yeah,
Aaron, what am I? Chopped cheese bucket liver turd?
Wait, you've got more stuff coming, Scott. Just slow down.
Right.
Slow down. So, but I was going to pay for shipping but these things are heavy. Let me just show you a box here.
Oh yeah, it's a beast.
Let's give you an idea. So I mean, it's a beast. It's a beast. Here's the box.
Oh, that's a good
Atari
one.
Fight Stick right there. And this is the one without the trackpad.
Right.
Or the little, what is it? The roller ball.
The roller ball
in the middle.
Right.
So I had the one with roller ball. But so I was super excited because what I was thinking was I was like, oh, I'll get that. And then I'll maybe I can put a ball on it or a spinner, and then I can get this to Scott some way. But then I was like, oh my God, it's $100 shipping. I'm like, we have to definitely wait until I can see him. Maybe I can pass it off to Brian Ibbett, and next time he's out that way, maybe or something.
Right.
But this one comes with the Raspberry Pi, so it's got Micro Center sold these for a while. Comes with a Raspberry Pi 3B or something, I think, and it has a bunch of Atari games on it. And you just plug it in through HDMI, and you just go to.
Can you put other games on there besides that, like emulate other?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a retro Pi. It's a standard retro Pi,
okay.
but it does have an Atari specific Micro Center image, but you can put your own on there. That's nice. That's easy. That's easy pleasy. Pop out that SD card, put a new one in. Go to town. But what I did do was I was like, Aaron, I was like, oh, you're awesome. Thank you for sending this. I didn't think it was going to come this fast. And then I was like, hey, let me send you the shipping money. And he's like, you know what? He says, just keep the shipping money and do something nice for the Play Retro show. So you know what I did this morning?
What?
After I looked back, I thought Scott had said he was interested in this new Ambernick RG, the 35XX SP, the one with the clamshell. Boink. And I was like, it's 6 o'clock this morning. They finally put them up on their site for sale. And I was there at 5:57 and I hit the refresh. I was like, who knows? Maybe they'll go early. And they did. And so I got me one and you one. And it's gonna be pretty cool.
What?
I'm very excited.
You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that.
But Aaron was nice to me, and like you had said, it's like, well, what about me, Aaron? And I'm like, but I was like, don't worry, Scott, we're gonna get you some love out of this too. So
you're paying it,
Aaron.
Yeah, you're paying it forward. I will also pay somehow. I'll pay that forward. I don't know how yet. I'll figure something.
Yeah, I got some stuff that I want to give away in the near future as well for some retro stuff. We're gonna be doing some giveaways in the next couple of months for our listeners. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
gonna give everybody some retro love.
Yeah, love retro. Love retro.
Love retro.
Ooh, that's our new show title. We're doing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, that's awesome. Thanks, Aaron at Gold Skull in our community, and also I cannot wait to see that clamshell. I hope that thing nails it.
It's gonna be so good. I've watched a bunch of videos on it. If you're not familiar with the Ambernick RG 35XX, we've been talking about it for the last couple of years. A lot of people in our communities got it. It's a Game Boy format type of retro emulation that you can stick in your pocket. And they've had a whole bunch of them. Ambernick's made a bunch of different models in the last couple of years. And this latest one is one like the SP, Game Boy SP that had the clamshell, and everybody's super excited about it. And I've watched some videos of it. It's bigger than the original SP, so I'm curious.
Definitely
how
larger.
That will be.
Yeah, it feels about the same size as the regular Ambernick, but with a bend, with a folded, which makes it a little taller because that fold creates additional length. But it looks awesome, and
no additional girth though, just length.
Yeah, no more, no girth. Yeah, look for that. We'll talk about them when we get them, and hopefully they're cool because I think a lot of people have their eyes on this right now. So
okay,
we'll let you know. All right, you guys, it is time for us to talk about our main topic. Let's do that right now.
Shall we play a game?
Indeed, we shall. The game we're going to play is Excitebike. You might remember this game as a 1984 NES exclusive. Although you could play it in the arcade on the Versus 10 machine that Nintendo also put out there. That version was different. I always thought they were like identical, but there were better graphics, better music, better sound effects. It was a better version of the game in the arcade.
Yeah, I didn't realize either. I thought the Versus was like the Play Choice 10 in that both of those systems were multi-game systems that Nintendo worked on. The Versus was a little different. It did use the modular cartridges and stuff, but they decided to do like enhancements and upgrades. Whereas I believe the Play Choice 10, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, it just literally had the same exact ROMs that you would have at your home for the NES. It was just in an arcade, if I remember correctly.
I believe I believe that's correct. And I don't think so. Right. Back in the day, I was an impressionable young dummy. I thought that the Play 10 stuff was 10 actual NES cartridges plugged into a big master board. Right. And I don't remember why I thought that. Somebody told me that, or it just made sense to me that that's what they did. That was never it. It was like a big solid board with multiple ROMs on it, and they were ROM chips, and they weren't, cartridges. And some were identical to the home version, some were exactly the same, and some were enhanced or better or worse or whatever. This is an example of one that was actually better in the arcade. But most people played this on the NES. It was a gigantic hit for a whole generation of gamers. And you may remember it sounded a bit like this. Doobie-doobie-doop, doobie-doobie-doop, doop-doop-doop-doop-doop. Oh, listen to that. All right, you get the idea. It's nice and loud.
You just got teleported back to your childhood because that repeats a lot. And it's beautiful.
But when you win, though, you get this. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? Yeah, I like that
That's
a lot.
so good. You can thank Koji Kondo is the composer. So thank you for that. Such great classic music.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like, to me, this is one of the all-timers. Like, I hear it and I immediately am taken back. I'll tell you what, though. This is a game I was terrible at. My friend Mark, I had this friend Mark. He was pretty good at a lot of different video games. But in this case, he owned this game. And I don't mean he owned it like he did own it, but he was so good on this game. He was embarrassing.
Apparently, we all owned it. What was it like? It's definitely in the top 10 best-selling games for the NES of all time.
Oh, I think so. NES for sure. Yeah. It is interesting, though, because it's so exclusively good for the 8-bit format that they never quite knew what to do with it later. And we'll get to that. We have two examples, at least two striking examples of an attempt to do it worldwide, and even a Japanese-only attempt. Which it bums me out that we never got here, but yeah, the game itself is difficult, I think, to translate to other and newer systems, because what it does here is very specific kind of mechanics, very specific kind of challenge. The minute you get into 3D consoles or anything like that, you suddenly are like, what are we even doing here? Isn't this just a standard bike racer? And in a lot of ways, it was. They tried to do it trucks on the Wii. We'll get to that too, but. Weird decisions that didn't really work out. But this original dude, this thing was gangbusters. Huge hit.
Yeah.
Everybody loved it.
It's a huge hit and such a unique take as well. Okay, so with Miyamoto was always, he's all like, I don't want to be part of trends. And he's like, I want to do something different. So he was always thinking outside the box. And at this time, we were looking at games and on other systems and the arcade. They were all like vertical racers. Everything was a vertical scrolling. Yep. And Miyamoto said, hey, I'm thinking that maybe we need to do a race game where we're scrolling sideways. And this is something that he picked up and he used later too. So you got backgrounds that are scrolling in the background. And instead of having to deal with all of the vertical scrolling, you're using the horizontal scrolling, which works really good on the NES. So once again, Miyamoto's smart and says, hey, I'm going to take advantage of the system I have. And he did just that, making this game. And he also made these great, you can see the inspiration for things that are about to come up. He's creating characters that are really standing out. I mean, like the last character I really remember that really stood out from this time period is going to be something like Pitfall. One of the reasons why I love Pitfall is I actually felt like it's not just, controlling some, spaceship or something. I felt like I was actually controlling an individual. This is something we're starting to get ready for, like Donkey Kong and other games like that. And here we have a bike racer who's racing bikes, and you can actually see it's a person, and you know that because when he wrecks, he has to hit to the side of the road, and he has to
Pick his
and
bike
walk
up,
back.
get back on it. Yep.
Yeah, and walk back to the bike and everything. So I mean, there's a level of immersion that seems ridiculous now. It's like, how is that immersive? 8-bit, pixelated crap. That's not immersive. It was at the time. It made you feel like you were actually controlling a small character and you were a part of the game.
Oh, yeah.
More so than the games that were around it.
Completely agree. And I think the scrolling screen, like people forget, this is pre Super Mario Brothers. A year later, we would get that. Yeah. This scrolling technology and wasn't really parallax, but backgrounds moving along with it and that sort of thing. This was new, really new. And
made the world feel huge.
Yeah, it made the world feel like it was, way more than just a single screen of shit happening. Yeah. And, even though these things were crafted and they were limited in their terms of quantity and stuff, it still gave you that impression of, wow, I'm really traveling the distance. And I don't think that can be understated. That's a huge deal in games.
Oh, huge. I'm going the distance.
Yeah, I'm going for speed all alone.
I'm going for speed.
Something in the time of need. Well, now I want cake. Cake. Anyway.
Cake is so good.
Here's the thing, though. I was very bad at it, but I loved it.
Oh, I was bad at it as a kid. So this game also does a couple of things. Miyamoto's can I praise him enough? I think he's had enough praise. Anyway,
he's really he's good. A legend for a reason. All right.
Yeah, he was really good at making games accessible to everybody, but then creating challenges that made the game have long-lasting value. So I'm with you. When I played Excitebike back in the day, I was no good at it. I sucked. I felt like I was always failing, but I was always having fun. And playing this past week, I was like, wow, as a gamer who has all this information along the way, I did pretty good. Now, when I started getting to the mid area, like the 5th track, so there's like when you can play either single player essentially, or you can play with other characters. You can't play 2-player here on the NES version, but you do get like an experience where you're racing against other racers. But this week when I was playing, out of the first 5 tracks, I probably made it up to about track 3, maybe 4 before I started really failing and not being able to finish in the top 3.
Yeah,
and was actually having to put real effort into it. That's how you progress, by the way. You get in the top 3, get your little celebration at the end. Woo! Yep. And then you get to go forward.
First couple levels are pretty easy. There's a couple of really important aspects to this game. One is the little turbo pad that not only helps you get a boost of speed, but it also resets your engine temperature back down to 0. That's key to knowing how important those are. Like if you're not hitting those on the regular, you're effed. You're going to get pulled over.
I didn't even know what those were. I kept running over them because I'm so programmed to play Mario type race games where it's like you hit the pads and you speed up. And I was thinking, I don't appear to be speeding up. Am I not hitting those right? And then I realized, this is kind of a mechanic that didn't make it to a lot of other games. It's a small factor, and it's one thing that really sets Excitebike apart is the management of the engine heat. That's a whole game mechanic in this thing. You have 2 ways to go. You can either go at regular speed and your heat of your engine will stay at like a set place, but you'll never win the game.
Yeah. And
then there's a turbo where you just kick it in overdrive, but it quickly increases the heat of the car or the motorbike until you have to pull outside road and cool down. Penalty. You're not going to make any high scores that way. You're not going to beat the track that way.
No, but it's an interesting mechanic that would then later translate to things like today. We use, first person shooters that have guns that overheat. You have like a big Gatling gun, and if you hold down fire too long, it turns red, and now you got to cool down for the thing to calm down or whatever. Even reloading weapons is kind of reminiscent of this. I'm not saying we wouldn't have gotten to those mechanics in some other way, but you can trace a lot of these ideas back to older games, and this feels like one that had some ideas that nobody had seen before. These were new.
Yeah.
Back then.
That was Miyamoto's thing. He's like, I'm going to do something new. Like, he was also overreaching. This also was a really good example of where Miyamoto was in the pecking order at Nintendo at this time. This is very early. This is only like maybe the second game he's been like the big guy where he's the developer, the director, he's managing everything. This is like his first real game that was released to the world.
Because Donkey Kong was his, but he had a lot of help on that. There were a lot of people involved.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He had a lot of help here too, but he made all the choices, right? He was making the choices. So here he goes, and he wants to include, obviously, a game save in this. Now, this is the NES. We know that that's just not going to work. Most of those are password protected, but he was on the, he was informed that the Famicom system had a keyboard. That's the Japanese version, family computer. Of the I guess the other part of the NES. Anyway, so they had a cassette tape that they were getting ready to release, and so they left in the ROM that you could save the game when you're making your tracks. You can make custom tracks here too, by the way. We didn't mention that.
Oh yeah, you can totally make custom tracks. It's crazy.
It's one of the best. It's one of the most fun parts about it. And there's a save section in there, and I tried to save this week playing this in emulation, and it just sat there because I had a real ROM. Then I went to the manual, and the manual says, we know there's a save and load in the system, but it's not available.
Yeah.
Check back later.
Yeah, check back later, which means never.
So, that was a good way to end your game and have to hit the reset button, because if you tried to save or load, it was just going to sit there and look at you dumb. And it would only work if you had
the No Man's Sky guys, Hello Games. You ever played their
yes,
those early, what they called, Dangerous Dick or something like that? What's it called?
Oh yeah.
Joe Danger. Joe Danger.
That's the Joe Danger. Yes.
Yeah. If you're looking for like a modern equivalent to what this game is, or a game that was definitely inspired by it, Joe Danger is fantastic. So Joe Danger 1 and 2 are both very good.
Yeah.
Crazy it's this No Man's Sky people, but whatever. You got to start somewhere.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But so the track editor thing.
Yeah.
I never was good at that. The track editor is pretty simple.
Editors in all games are reminders to me that I probably would not make a great level designer. I know what looks good, and I know what I think is pretty or whatever, but as far as like balance, timing, what's the most fun layout, what's challenging incrementally and not too hard but hard enough, like all those decisions and design decisions, that shit is hard, man. I don't do any of that.
I love, though, I've been trying to think of an earlier game than this that really allowed you to create your own tracks, because it's smart. I mean, it's smart for developers to go, okay, we've made these tools on the developer side.
Right.
Wouldn't it be nice if we put these tools in the hands of our players? Because surely they're as creative as we are at making some of these tracks, and we had so much fun doing the building of the tracks. That wouldn't it be great if we just included it?
Well, that's a whole other kind of like future proofing or ahead of their time decision, because that's common now. Like everything has a way to make stuff in games. Most games, not all games, but a lot of games. I'm not even talking about modding. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm playing this new game called Instruments of Destruction, which is basically like Blast Core. I think is what I would most say that it was inspired by. And that game has a default editor engine. Broforce, a game I've loved since 2015 when it came out. That game has an amazing level editor. And, look what they did with things like Little Big Planet. Like, I don't know that Miyamoto was seeing the future, but he was definitely ahead of his curve here a little bit with those ideas.
Yeah. But like, it goes to show you the power he did have. That might have been a tough sell to tell Nintendo. It's like, we also want to include the level editor that we kind of use in-house as part of the gaming. What do you think about that? That might have not flown over real well during a time when most game creators didn't even get their names in the credits. Right. It's like you don't get any say so. You're peons.
Yeah, you're weasel men.
You're weasel men.
I don't know where that came from, but there it is.
I don't know either, right? But I love it. But yeah, so man, I really enjoyed playing this game this week. I knew nothing much about it. I never had an NES growing up, so the only time I ever played it was when I would go to somebody's friend's house, and this was everywhere. Everybody had it because it was one of the first, the black box Nintendo games, which means that everybody freaking had it. Duck Hunt, Super Mario, that stuff. Everybody had that in their library, so I had a lot of experience with it, but always at friend's house, and I didn't really feel comfortable playing more than a couple of minutes and going, okay, here you go. Thanks for letting me play it. It was great.
Is the Excitebike character playable in Smash Brothers? I know they have a trophy in there. but I don't remember if
that's
it's
he's made a lot of appearances along the way, even though Nintendo has not really given us Excitebike fans, who I consider myself now, any real love over the years. I don't know if it's just a tough sell. It's like where nobody cares about the Excitebike IP. And it's like, I kind of do. I love that music and I'd like to see it and everything. But every once in a while they do give us a nod. They'll say, oh yeah, we'll include the Excitebike stuff and whatever. But yeah, it's in tons of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a great little reference.
Little
like, you're definitely not going to do much with it in any other big way, so you may as well make it referential on a lot of things. We'll get to those the experiments. You know, I got to say this. Everyone always says none of the big console makers take very many risks anymore. But I got to give credit to Nintendo for at least trying to extend the Excitebike brand in Excitebike 64 and then later in Excite Truck on the Wii, even though both those games were kind of failures, especially Excite Truck. Right. But it was at least them trying something, right? And I admire that. I think that's cool.
I think it's good. And you know what? You're gonna be sick of Excitebike. One of the things that really reminded me that Excitebike existed was earlier this year. We got the commercial for the Nintendo World Championships NES edition. And what is that? It's a collection of NES games that are competitive. Basically, you'll get a chance to play against other people for high scores on Nintendo Online. So if you got the Nintendo Online service and you have the Nintendo World Championship NES edition, which is in pre-order now, and I think it comes out in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the collector's edition, by the way. I've already pre-ordered mine. I don't usually pre-order, but I said, why not? I went with Best Buy. GameStop has it. Yeah. You can pre-order the digital copy, which is like $29, or you can get the hard copy for like $50, but it comes with a bunch of other
hard
cool
copy
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, hard copy. But one of the games that was in there, that they featured in the commercial was Excitebike. And I'm like, oh shoot. I'm like, I probably could get good at Excitebike. By the way, not to get off on too many tangents. You know what cracks me up the most?
What's that?
Look, I love speed running.
Sure.
Let me correct that. I love watching people figure out cool ass ways to do speed runs.
Same.
There is a contingent for speed running for Excitebike, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
That's not speed running. That's just trying to get the best score at Excitebike. You know?
Well, it's a good point. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's a glitch. There's probably no glitch runs and then glitch runs, and because sometimes when people find a glitch, they exploit it, and that's kind of fun too. But let's see the current record. Let me look up. Speed.
When I think of speed runs, I think of like the game wasn't necessarily intended to be a speed run, but you found a way to cleverly get around a bunch of things to finish in a certain amount of time. And the game could be time, managed, but for the most part, getting through it the fastest is not the main goal. It seems silly. It's like, I'm doing a speed run at Forza Horizon. Well, we all are. What are you talking about?
Well,
we're all trying to.
So the fastest speed run was set 7 months ago, 4 minutes, 58 seconds, 0.90 milliseconds. So basically for almost 5 seconds. The record below that only lost by 0.2 seconds. Jeez. But anyway,
that's how it is.
That seems crazy to me. Like, where I played that game for hours. How are they only playing it for 4 minutes? I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know either. Like I said, they know all the tricks, and there are a lot of tricks. This game has a lot of control. From like we talked, the track design. There's A through S, I believe. So there's that many different possibilities of obstacles and or ramps or things that you could add to the track, like like dirt that slows you down, or sweet ramps that lean one way or the other way, or a certain height or whatever. And all of that goes into how you play it. When you're playing Excitebike, I learned this past week pretty quickly that they always tell you want to land flat to the surface as possible when you're landing. But then I see all these other people like landing on their wheels.
Yeah, the front wheel is definitely the choice du jour for these speedrunners. I just watched this guy do a 27-second lap, and most of this is landing on the nose of his tire. He's not.
Yeah, if you learn how to do that, that's the way to do it. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not good enough. If you suck, landing flat's the best. If you're an amazing world speedrunner, land on the front.
Because he's missing. I'm noticing he's skipping entire swaths of obstacles because of how he's doing that front tire thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're exploiting the tracks as well. So they're going if they hit these ramps at a certain angle, it'll make them bounce, it'll make them go a little further and a little faster. But once again, I don't consider that speed running. I just consider that trying to get the highest score.
Well,
right?
that's all speed running is. It's just trying to fin. I mean, it depends on your goal. If the goal of the game is to get done with it the fastest, like have it the least amount of time.
Right.
Well, then sometimes
because that's the only scoring mechanism, right?
Well, in this case, yeah,
highest score.
Yeah, in this case, that is the scoring, right? That's the game, is get there as fast as you can. So that those two goals align with this Excitebike. Unlike, say, something like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, where your speed run is only about hurrying up and getting there the fastest, not about anything else. Like not about exploring, not about all your dialogue, none of that. Like all the other game aspects go out the window because it's just about speed. The good news is Excitebike is about speed and score, and that's it. That's all it is.
Like Donkey Kong, if somebody said, this person's got the speed run record for Donkey Kong, I'm like, oh, cool. That says something because I've never once considered the speed of my Donkey Kong play.
No.
It's just like, I got to get to the top, kill that monkey. That's just all I'm thinking about.
That's the goal. Yeah. Get in there, get it done.
Kill that monkey, baby.
Kill that monkey. I always say, if you can kill it, kill it. Let's talk a little bit about Versus Excitebike. This is the arcade game, and this is different. More different than I remember. I did play it a bunch back in the day. We would go and spend our hard-earned early junior high quarters on this game. And it is a much more, it's definitely a more arcadey presentation.
Yeah.
Overall, like it's just flashier. It's got, like I said, better sound, better music, better all that. In fact, here, well, I don't know about better music, but it's definitely a higher fidelity. This was what,
now this
88?
This video we're watching may have been the verses for the Famicom, so it did make it to the Famicom system, and I think the verses also made it to like the Wii later on. I think.
Well, might have,
but yeah,
I think this one says. Hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, it says,
and that's cool. It's all kind of interconnected anyway, because essentially the Versus Excitebike essentially uses the Famicom. I mean, it's all related.
Oh, this one, the video I'm showing is from the Famicom disk system, and it is the same version that was in the arcade. Here's the sounds you get from that thing. Oh, I didn't put any in here. Why?
Ooh. I don't know, but I like that. I like that pink and blue color.
I know, right? It's very cool. Different. Check it out. Oh, that's the old one. They all sound the same. Or I can play some of this. Let's do this. Hold on. So this one had music while you rode.
Oh yeah.
But and the engine sounded more like an engine. Yeah. Pretty cool though.
But this looks very similar to the first track you'd play on the NES or the Famicom if that's who you are. And I was fascinated by the fact I never saw the Versus systems, but I know that they had some configurations that I had read had 2 screens. Like I'm like, oh, that would have been wicked cool to be at the arcade with some dual screens playing against somebody on Excitebike. That's pretty fun.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I didn't know that was a thing either. Excitebike,
that'd be cool.
2 screens. Let's see.
But I would like to have done that. But Play Choice 10, I've actually seen the Play Choice 10s. I've never experienced the Versus, but I really like those. But once again, I never had NES at the house, so it was just kind of cool seeing a Play Choice 10 because you can just put your money. If you remember the Play Choice 10, they allowed you had 10 Nintendo games.
I love
you'd put in
things.
It's time based, meaning that basically is you put in money and it lets you play for however long. It's not based on whether you complete any type of obstacles in the game or goals in the game. It's all they're leasing you a Nintendo, an NES for X number of minutes for so many quarters.
That's basically true. And they had, like you said, 10 games on there. And my memory was I always chose between Popeye. They had a Popeye game on there.
Yeah, they did.
Do you remember that Nintendo Popeye game? I used to love that.
I did, and we've talked about that a little bit before, long ago. I think that was wasn't that one of the ones that Miyamoto was going to work on instead of Mario?
Something there, I can't remember.
There's connective tissue.
Yeah, there's some weird story with that. The main thing with it was, if I remember this right, There was some controversy with it, with the IP holders or something was weird. I can't remember what happened there.
Yes.
But I think we did it on Guess My Game was where it came up.
It might have been.
But I'm looking at this Play 10 machine.
Because that was going to be what they were going to do instead of Donkey Kong. I think that's it's starting to. It's all coming back to me now. It's like a Donkey Kong, I think, because I remember the graphics and stuff kind of look like Donkey Kong on the Popeye game.
Now I'm going to show you something funny, chat, and I'll explain this at home, but Chad will be able to see this. So this is the front of a Versus Excitebike machine, and it was just Excitebike. However, it's got a gun holster in the front for duck hunt. So yeah, that's a weird thing. Weird.
Because so that was the thing. So I wonder if they got that marquee. So the Excitebike, if I remember correctly from what I've read this past week, the Excitebike the Versus systems, you essentially could rebrand. It was you get a cabinet and it would have a set number of controls,
right?
And then you could get different versions of it. And I'm sure those marquees probably you just switched them out for whatever you were playing that week. So there's probably a reason why the gun was there. I love that.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's very cool.
So it's universal system.
Sure.
It's bringing that modularity of the cartridge to the arcade, essentially.
They should bring that back. That should come back. I liked that.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree.
I thought it was cool. Although having it be a timer was weird, you know.
I kind of like the timer aspect of it. And I don't remember what happened if you had leftover time or how frustrated you'd be if it's like, oh no,
very
so close.
I'd be very upset. I remember playing Balloon Fight. I guess you could keep putting quarters in and get more time, right?
Right.
Is that how it worked? I don't remember exactly.
I believe so.
I thought
I like
that.
Cool. You know what I like? I like to think of how they enforce that exactly. You could do it this simple way, which is to go pop up a little screen. Okay, you're out of time, buddy. But I would like an idea of maybe like having an NES controller on a cable that just like slowly started pulling out of your hands when the time ran out.
Yep, kids would figure out a way to like put up 2x4 in between there and stop it from going or something. Kids always did. You could never do enough to stop us from doing dumb things to arcade machines, for real. Like you could try all you want. You could make Missile Command ball, you could make it out of space age material and hope that it never gets gum or spit or freaking boogers in there. Didn't matter. It had gum, spit, and boogers in there. It's just the way it was.
It was gum spittle collector is what they should have called it.
That's what they should have called it. And the fact that we were always rubbing on that ball, no wonder we got good immune systems from that. Jeez Louise.
Oh yeah, you can't kill us.
Yep,
we're immortal.
That's right. We've been touching video game consoles forever. Let's talk about
Social Security. I have no idea because we are immortal.
That's true. Let's talk about the N64 game. This is a weird one. Because basically this is the time where they skipped Super NES altogether. I think that was a mistake. They could have done some really cool work on that. You had parallax scrolling.
That'd be so cool.
It'd be amazing. Super Excitebike. That's all you had to call it. It would have had Mode 7 graphics. You would have had, like I said, parallax stuff. You would have had way better sound. You could have really enhanced the gameplay, but stayed in that 2D realm. You could have really gone places. Instead, they skipped a generation, and by the time the N64 came out, they were like, hey, what if it was just dirt bikes? What if this was just another dirt bike game that didn't have any real distinction over other games of its kind? And that's what you ended up getting. It also is 90s as hell. I would like everyone to listen to this sound a little bit here. Check this out.
Excitebike 64.
64. Listen to this.
Oh yeah! 2, 1, go!
Jumping Jim River.
I mean, that's the thing. They just made it.
Sarah Sugar Hill. That's the name of one of the characters. By the way, this one had character names, and you got to choose. And you got to choose your bike color. I didn't know this until I accidentally did it. Yeah. But you get to choose your bike colors, your outfit colors, the Heil bike. I had a bunch of sponsors and stuff too. This is real. We had a huge thing going on with motocross during the 90s, especially.
Motocross was big.
With MTV doing their extreme sports and everything, and we really loved motocross during that time.
Yeah, for sure. And this leans into that, and I just think it's a mistake because now you're missing the soul of the Nintendo part of it. This could be anybody making this shitty game. Like, there's nothing fancy going on. Sure, you still have the whole don't overheat. Try to hit these hills just right so you come down into the lip and go onto the higher one and miss a hill altogether. Like all those things are there, but really at the end of the day, it's a third-person racing game that just does not do it for me. This bummed me out at the time, and it bummed me out again this week.
I played it, and I kind of have an appreciation for it that I did not have before, because I thought the same thing. So this came out in 2000, which is like more than halfway through the N64 life cycle. So it was a little bit later on, and I felt like
15 years later, by the way. 15 years.
Oh yeah, it was 15 years after the first one. They gave this one over to Left Field Productions, who had done some other these guys mostly stuck with race games anyway, so they were pretty good at what they did. But I think it kept the spirit of Excitebike, but in a 3D world, and added all the attitude we were kind of having coming out of the 90s and early 2000s. It still had a good bit of attitude.
Yeah.
I liked the music. Like I said, I don't know how far I could go into it, but I did enjoy the unlockables. They have a bronze, silver, gold, so there's a lot more content here to play. Like I said, you get to pick your characters, and you get a little backstory about each of the characters, their ages and stuff. So I'm gonna give this one a little bit of a break. My favorite thing about this one, though, is the unlockable tracks and the unlockable stuff. You can unlock the original Excitebike to play.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you can unlock the 3D version of Excitebike. So it's Excitebike 3D.
Right.
This is what you might have seen if you had it on the SNES, and it's pretty cool. But really, all they did was they locked in the camera, they fixed angled the camera, so they're still using the same 3D engine that they're using for the rest of the game. They just locked in a fixed camera at a 3/4 view.
Yeah.
And so you can race with the D-pad just like you did back in the original, and it controls just like that. Overheats. They remade the same maps you would have seen in the beginning. So instead of going around the track where it's a round track, or it's still all straight track in that 3D mode.
Right. The 3D mode is like little everything's like voxel graphics, kind of the characters and stuff. It works pretty well.
It looks like it because you're backed up from the polygons that are on N64, and it looks very voxel. Even though I think it's still using the same game engine. It's just the angle and the dimensions.
Yeah, the way they did it made it work. It's a cool trick. But outside of that, this game's just kind of standard. And what the other problem is Wave Race had taken everybody by storm. That game rocked. And I think Wave Race and 1080 snowboarding, those became your edgy, cool sports titles for the N64, and everything else felt a little half-assed to me. And this felt half-assed. Wasn't my favorite, but
by 2000, let's take I mean, if you're Left Field Productions and you're getting you're a fairly small development company, and you've got some aspirations, Nintendo comes to you bringing you the classic, the Excitebike. Everybody remembers it. By this point in time, it's a legend, right? It's 15 years later. You mean that'd be a pretty awesome task. It's like, we got to bring this to a new generation, and nobody's touched it in this many years. And we all know who Miyamoto is now. I don't know.
Wasn't a great seller, though. They didn't sell as well as I'd hoped, which is a bummer.
No.
But again, I'm not surprised. It's just a weird time. 3D, nobody knew what we were doing yet. It was just a weird thing. Now, there's something that happened in Japan. Something happened in Japan that I must play audio from. Check this out right here, because this is crazy. Here we go. By the way, that is Peach. All right, here she is.
Yeah.
Here she is again.
Here we go.
I love it.
Now, you might say to yourself, wait a minute, what? Peach? What's she doing in a game that maybe has the Excitebike thing? There's a game called Bun Bun Mario Battle Stadium.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. I'm not making that up. And
it's a Teleview, which was an adapter that you could put on your SNES.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or your Super Famicom.
Or Super Famicom,
as it would have been.
Right.
Yeah.
And it featured... I don't know how to explain this. It featured, you could select from Mario, and I think Wario's in the selection, the original one.
So they had, Teleview is like an event-based thing. So you would have this adapter for your Super Famicom system, and you might can correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't actually have this. This is what I read.
I've never even heard of it until this week. This was all news to me.
It was broadcast gaming, so it would send out the game at certain intervals. So I think there were 4 seasons of this, and as it went along, they had different characters that would be involved. And you would have so much time to practice and prepare. You have so much time to compete against other players. But it basically took the Excitebike formula and all the goodness of that, and added in all of these characters we had met along the way. And it was just a big event. And it kind of reminds me of what we're about to see with what we had mentioned earlier, which is the NES World Championship. NES, it's kind of like an event thing almost.
Yeah.
But this was much bigger. So we was all using. Everybody was trying to figure out how to bring either cable or, internet or whatever to our gaming systems. And this is what they were doing.
Yeah, Sega had their Sega Channel thing. Everybody was trying to do that. And turns out they were all wrong about how that would work. And it took Valve and Steam to tell everybody how that should be done, I suppose.
I did get a chance to play a little bit of this. You can find there's archived ROMs of this that don't have the exact experience, because like the Satellaview was like an event. They had like voice actors that were broadcasting at the same time, and it's not something you can just recreate, but you can emulate the games themselves and get kind of an idea of what it was like.
It's absolutely wild. Didn't know they existed until this week, and watching video from all that stuff is just like, why didn't that come here, man? Different markets, I get it, but whatever.
Yeah, I'd play it.
Yeah, I'd play the shit out of that.
I'd play the shit out of that.
Damn straight, boy. Okay, how about this? You won't even know what this is. If you're wondering what that cacophony of loud 90s ass, early 2000s jumble rock is, then you would be wrong if you thought it wasn't Excite Truck. Yes, that's right. Excite Truck for the Wii. Now we're into some post 2006 territory here, which isn't quite our limit for what we consider to be retro.
Right.
However,
but getting close,
baby.
baby.
But what is interesting about this game is it is actually legitimately really fun, over the top and ridiculous. Yeah. It reminded me of playing one of those SSX games, but with trucks in like open deserts. Really, is the difference. But you do tricks in the air, flips, and 360s, and you would get points based on those tricks. And taking out other trucks was a big deal, and you would unlock a ton of trucks. And they called this Excite Truck, even though it's got nothing to do with the Excite formula, really, other than it's a motor vehicle taking jumps. And the jumps aren't even like super strategic. They're just huge. And you're meant to jump as high as you can and do all the shit you can. And I really like this game, but calling it Excite Truck was a weird decision.
Right. So, opinion. I mean, okay. So it's more cross country. You're out in the middle of nowhere. It's trucks, right? You do have like standard speed and then super speed with the controlling of the engine, because you do explode. This one takes Excitebike and Excitebike 64 and goes, oh, we're going to top that. And I'm with you. It's a lot of fun. It is on the Wii. So if you're going to try to emulate this thing, you're going to have to. The part of the steering uses I hated that the Wii did this with the steering wheel thing. You have to do the gyro thing where it's like leaning this way. I'm like, just give me the option to just drive this like a normal thing, please.
Yeah, because even with a remote Wiimote turn sideways, which you could play it that way.
Which that's way, yeah.
You still had to do this and this. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Give me an analog stick. I'm going to say it. I'll say it again. The Wii and the DS both kind of piss me off.
Yeah.
Because there's some neat ideas, some really cool innovation. In particular, the DS. I like, the dual screen had some really neat ideas. But what they did is made it permanently locked into that time. It's just hard to play those things now. There's no equivalent. Nintendo doesn't have a dual screen device now. So even if you emulate that stuff on their devices, like if I had a Switch version of, I don't know, I can't think of a good split screen game that I could mention, but one that really required it, it would be lame.
Right.
Like, and these are, and now, and doing this with a half-assed freaking gyro motion stick, also lame. It's lame.
Right.
Just give us something cool to play in a standard way forever. Not your little game. And I know it keeps people, it's also a sneaky way to keep piracy down. It's the same reason they do other things, and they have done other things in the past. But they almost always abandon these tricks, or they still make them, but they're not as important. Like the Switch has, gyro controllers, motion sensing controllers, but they're not crucial to anything.
Yeah.
They just sort of work if you want them to, but for the most part, you're like, sorry, I'd rather have thumbsticks.
I was always mad anytime any of the games lock me into the gimmick controls. I like the gimmick controls. Some of the things work great, like Wii Bowling. I wouldn't play Wii Bowling any other way than with the controller because that's the absolute pinnacle of how to play Wii Bowling. But most other games like Excite Truck, no sense in locking us into that. And maybe I missed it. Maybe you're listening now going, oh, you could switch it over here. But I did not see anywhere in the controls where I could switch, and it was very frustrating.
Well, I had an analog Pro controller, whatever that Pro controller was called then, and it didn't work with it.
Yeah.
I was mad.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was mad.
Yeah.
I get mad.
So if
Monster games.
If this ever becomes available in some form, I'd love to play it again, but just give me straight controls. Don't mess around.
Because it's fun. It's loud. It's obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
It does have the Excitebike formula of, big jumps, knock the competition out of the way, don't overheat.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there.
Weird connection to an IP, though, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
These guys, by the way, made a lot of car games. They made, for example, before Excite Truck, they made Excite Bots Trick Racing.
Yes.
Excitebike World Rally, Pilot Wings Resort for the 3DS,
yes.
Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D for the 3DS. They did Tropical Freeze. That's a good game. They co-developed that with Retro Studios. Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. Jeez, that's weird. And then a bunch of NASCAR games.
Yeah, that's the reason why I know these guys.
Yeah, their latest game.
Played tons of NASCAR games.
Last game they made is 2022 World of Outlaws Dirt Racing.
Yeah.
I don't know a thing about that.
Well, you don't need to. What you do need to know about, though, is one that I put in the little known facts and stories. Wasn't sure if I'd have time to get to it. But we talked about Wario recently, and we talked about the Game Boy Advanced WarioWare stuff ever so quickly.
Love those games.
And there was a mode in there, this Anything Goes, and it was called Excitebike.
Ooh.
And it was a little bit, and I posted in the Discord server, in our Discord chat. And there's a video there. And this is so dumb and so short. And man, I want more of it. But that's kind of how WarioWare is, right? It's like tons of ass games to put Wario in different situations. They're just little micro games.
No, dude, that series is one of my favorite all-time series. I love that. Yeah. And by the way, they play amazing on the Ambernick. Just amazing. Oh, yeah, there he is. Look at them avoiding stuff.
Excitebike. How Wario is that?
That's Wario as shit. Oh, he got hit by the guys. Big dummy.
Look at that. It looks like South Park did this or something. It looks like
it does.
It almost looks. Yeah,
it's like a little Cartman race.
I sent you that Robot Chicken clip. If you've never seen the Robot Chicken Excitebike clip, look it up.
Good.
It's amazing. This looks like they took it back and said we're gonna make our own.
I might go play some WarioWare tonight. Yeah, I love that game so much.
Yeah.
All right.
That one last thing. Did you? I sent you this. Should we also talk about this just real quick?
What's that?
This world of collecting. This person on Reddit has. I'm going to send you this. This is just a couple of months ago.
This is crazy.
I'm going to remind you of the link if you don't have it in the Discord server. But yeah, when I was doing my search stuff for Excitebike, and this guy came up where he had posted something about 5 months ago, and people were losing their shit on Reddit about. I finally own every version of Excitebike released in North America. And oh my God.
Yeah.
There's so many versions of it.
It's just a bunch of, I assume these are just slightly changes to the ROM on manufacturing, right?
And one of the reasons why I started looking at this is because the original Excitebike, the ones that were released in North America, you could have potentially had a gem in there, the 5-screw type NES cart.
Yeah.
They were running short on Excitebike cartridges for North America. So what they did is they had done in the past, Nintendo included a Famicom adapter. So they basically just took an NES to Famicom adapter and then put the Famicom game cartridge attached to that. And then they packaged it up and said, here you go. So some of you people may have an Excitebike in your collection that actually has a Famicom adapter. I mean, it's a Super Famicom, but it's not. It's the Famicom. It has a Famicom adapter in it. You can actually put other cartridges in it.
Oh.
And plug that into your NES.
That's cool.
You can put other Famicom games in it. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing at all.
I didn't either until this past week, and then I found this guy with every version, which was how many?
We're
It's
learning. We're learning things this week, no doubt.
We're
about
learning. We're becoming sentient.
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning more this time around than I have any previous episode we've done.
Yeah, too much stuff. Maybe
that's not true, but I love it. I love this kind of weird, obscure stuff that I didn't know back then. Like not knowing that Play 10s had 10 cartridges, not knowing that they didn't have 10 cartridges jammed into a machine. I was sure that's what was going on. In fact, you could have told me a little man was in there taking them out and putting them in.
You could tell me there's a little plumber in there going, woohoo!
Yeah, woohoo! I'm changing the number of the cartridge. Woohoo! I don't know why it's Mickey Mouse all of a sudden.
Why it turned into Mickey Mouse? I don't know.
I don't know either.
But maybe it was Mickey Mouse in there. Disney
can't explain it.
Nintendo wanted to be Disney, so why not?
Let's move to a game we play with each other called Guess My Game. And it's got its own theme sound, so let's just do that.
Destroy it.
This is a chance for us to play some old audio from an old game, and each of us has to try to guess what it is. You get 4 possible answers. It's a bunch of multiple choice. You get a year and a platform, and that's all you get. Brian, I'm going to tell you yours, the one I'm going to play. It's for the Sega Genesis. The year is 1991.
Oh.
Okay. And it's a publisher.
Okay.
It's a publisher you're familiar with. But to help you, I will say this is not a Sega published game. This is another third party. Okay. Sega. Here's your sound. This game sounds so Genesis. You can taste the Genesis on this.
I know it.
Game. You can smell it. All right. Here are your options. You ready?
All right. Give it.
A, Arcus Odyssey. B, The Adventures of Mighty Max. C, Aerobics Supersonic. So I'm sorry, Aerobiz.
Aerobiz.
Aerobiz Supersonic.
Is that the bat?
There were 2 other Aerobiz games, so you are correct.
Okay.
Buck Rogers Countdown to Doomsday. So once again, your answers are Arcus Odyssey, The Adventures of Mighty Max, Aerobiz Supersonic, or Buck Rogers Countdown to Doomsday.
I want to say I played Buck Rogers Countdown to Doomsday earlier this year, and it was more of a D&D type adventure, so I don't think it had this much action in it. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Aerobiz Supersonic. The Adventures of Mighty Max, Arcus Odyssey.
It's a hard one.
These
are one other hint. One other hint that'll help you. Maybe these are all.
Right.
What am I trying to say? They're all Genesis games.
Yes.
So it's no confusion about any of that. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not trying to trick you with some other game in this list from another platform. They're all Genesis games.
If the games and titles are the ones I'm thinking of, I don't think it's The Adventures of Mighty Max. It doesn't. My visuals that I have about that game does not match that audio style. I don't think it's Aerobiz Supersonic, and I don't think it's Buck Rogers. I'm going to say A, Arcus Odyssey, because I don't know what the hell that is. So that's the only thing left.
Is Arcus Odyssey. Well, let's find out if that's the correct answer or not. Is it Arcus Odyssey? No.
Oh.
Would you like to know which one it is?
Yeah, it's got to be either B or C, right?
Well, the answer is The Adventures of Mighty Max. Published by EA, Electronic Arts. And it was an early Genesis game. We're talking 91 here. And it's not very good. It's kind of shitty. So there's that.
Okay, maybe this is not the same. Wait, is it? Didn't Mighty Max make it? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh, I take it back. Some places was EA. It was also published by Ocean Software and a bunch of other places. So, yeah.
Didn't Mighty Max have his own cartoon, or am I thinking of something else?
I think you're thinking of something else. You're thinking of Mighty Mouse, or are you thinking of...
No, boy, I would definitely be off if I thought it was Mighty Mouse. That's not even close to the same thing.
They only gave... Next Generation gave this game 1 star out of 5. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it a 4.8 out of 10. It's not a good game.
That's not a good game.
Yeah, it's kind of shit. Brian, let's do yours now. Let me tell me about your clip before I play it.
Oh, sure. Mine was on the NES 1989, and I found this while I was doing some other So yeah, I was in the NES category this week shopping. So yeah, this is the one.
Here we go.
NES 1989.
Very interesting. Something familiar, but it might just be NES familiar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, give me my options. What are we looking at?
Your options are A, Shadowgate, B, Maniac Mansion, C, Deja Vu. Wait a minute, Deja Vu. D, Uninvited.
All right, let me...
I love this music, though.
It's very familiar.
When I heard this music, I was like, yeah, this is sexy.
It's super familiar. I don't think it's Maniac Mansion. Deja Vu.
Deja
I'm
Vu
sure what that
all
is.
over again.
The only one here I'm really familiar with is Shadowgate, and it sounds like Shadowgate to me. So I'm going to say Shadowgate.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. You beat me this week. The answer is A, Shadowgate.
Whoops, where's my... I almost pushed, but I meant... I got it right? No way. That is familiar to me, and I think it's because I played Shadowgate, and it sounds like a game I played.
Probably played it on everything, because Shadowgate made it to everything. I just happened to pick the NES version.
Shadowgate was... Remind me what Shadowgate's thing was. What is it, a side-scrolling puzzler thing, or what the hell was it?
Side-scrolling puzzlers? How about a point-and-click adventure?
Oh, Shadowgate?
Yeah.
What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of something else. Here, hold on.
And you can buy Shadowgate on Steam currently.
Oh, yeah, here it
from
is.
2014.
Shadowgate is... Oh, I know what Shadowgate is. Okay. Yep, I get it now. This is more like it's a dungeon crawler kind of thing, but it's also a point-and-click adventure within the dungeon. It's not like a normal wizardry or something. Yeah.
Right.
Well, now you make me want to play it. Somebody remade this.
Yeah, in 2014 on Steam, I think there's a copy of that. So
it looks like it's they redid all the art and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, kind of curious now. All right, well done.
Curious.
That's 2 weeks in a row where I've won. I don't know how you feel about that.
I know you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Give me if I did or not.
I'm very impressive. All right, let's get to some listener feedback. We have some. You sent some. We're reading it.
Welcome to the treasure room.
Let's see what we got here. First up, a text, 801-471-0462. Listening to Play Retro. This is Frost MN. He says, Solstice did have a U.S. release. I played the hell out of it as a kid, though I was terrible at it. We were talking about how we didn't think Solstice made it to the States, but it did. I think that was one of my Guess My Games a couple of weeks ago.
I think it was. Correct.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it looks like this was in the U.S. I do not remember that, though. And everything I found said Japan, so there was some confusion there. Thanks for the correction. We also got one from No Name. He didn't leave a name. He says, hey, Scott, I don't know if you saw this on Kickstarter for a sequel to Star Control 2 by the same developers. They don't have the rights to the name, but they have the rights to all the original content. So I am souped for this. I think he meant stoked. But
I'm souped. No, I like soup better.
Yeah, I like soup. I'm a soup fan.
I'm going to start using that. Forget stoked. I'm souped. I'm all wet.
I had a
souped.
I had a link to the Kickstarter, and then I lost it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick, and then we can send people in the right direction. Here it is.
But they don't have but it's not, is it called Star Control? They don't
no,
have the
they're calling it Free Stars, Children of Infinity.
Ah, Free Stars.
Yeah, so look for that. Free Stars on Kickstarter. They're currently at about $500,000. 6,000 something backers, 7 days to go. Still time to back the project. And it looks like they've got access to everything about the game except the name. So this is kind of a big deal. I'm a Star Control.
I would just call it Control Star. Come on.
Yeah, what were they thinking?
You don't have to be creative.
I agree. I love that original game, though.
Yeah. We'll cover it here on the show eventually, I'm sure.
Looks like they're really going for the retro aesthetic as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're into that,
smart.
Oh, it'll be on Steam. Cool.
I am into that.
I'm also into it. So get it today. It's called, once again, forgot the name already. Hold on.
Control Star. See how easy it would have been if they just called it that?
Where is it? It would be a lot easier. Free Stars, Children of Infinity and Beyond. No, there's no and beyond in there.
And beyond.
It's not in there. Thank you for letting us know about that. That is pretty cool. We also got an email from Eric who says, just finished listening to Play Retro Show episode 79, the Gex series. This dude sent an email to playretro@gmail.com. He says, I remember when I picked that game up for the 3DO. All of my favorite 3DO games was the long titled. I'm not sure what that means.
Long titles. Yeah. Like get really long titles.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I get it. He says, Road and Track presents The Need for Speed. Oh, yeah.
That's what they used to call it. That's the Need for Speed is a much better name. But in the beginning,
I totally forgot that Road and Track magazine. Road and Track
Yeah.
magazine was like the sponsor of that game, and that was the first Need for Speed game ever. Was a 3DO game.
Yeah. There was no name recognition in the Need for Speed, but there was for Road and Track.
That's hilarious. Says what made it my favorite was racing against the opponent X-Man. The late Brendan Baird supplied some snarky FMV whenever you won or lost. Don't know if the series has been covered yet, but this version of the 3DO is quite unique. Stay retro, Eric. Yeah, I thought that game was amazing at the time.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
This comes just in time because I have been wanting to cover Road and Track presents the Need for Speed for a while now. So yeah, every week I think, is this the week we're going to do it? Is this the week we're going to do it? Now that I've got Eric, I've got my back.
Yep. Eric's all up in it. So we're going to be up in it as well and do it coming up. So watch for it. Let's do a quick retro report and see what's going on in the rest of our retro world. Brian, what's going on with Roller Coaster Tycoon server thing, OpenRT, CRT, whatever it is, RCT2 server?
That's right. OpenRCT2 server. That's right. Well, a couple weeks ago I said I was getting it all ready. The server's gone. It's up. It's ready. It's doing its thing. And good news, if you're wanting to play, all you got to do is head over to Good Old Games because they're selling the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 Triple Thrill Pack, which is the one you're going to need to make OpenRCT2 work correctly and to be able to join our community server. It's only $249 right now. I don't know how much longer. So if you're listening now, you better get on it. We are rotating out the parks. So Roller Coaster Tycoon exists on scenarios. We took down the first scenario. I saved it, and it'll be available for download for offline play on Retro GIB. But we've moved to the next scenario, which is Leafy Park. What is it called? Anyway, we moved to a new scenario. Get in there and play. All the information for that is at retrogib.com, and Good Old Games has it on sale for $249. It is the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 Triple
stupid cheap
pack.
Ridiculously cheap.
Stupid cheap.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Tell me about Unreal. I guess we finally got, I don't know why we didn't think of this before. Freaking have Sick Recce do the maps. Duh.
Because it's a terrible idea. Sick Recce already wrecks us, but we made a great decision this past week to go ahead and let Sick Recce put all the hard work in and give us an updated map list. So we've updated the map list thanks to Sick Recce, who gave me the server config file and everything. And now each of the sections have a map appropriateness for the different types of play. So Capture the Flag has maps that are good for Capture the Flag and for our size of players that we have, our group of pool, which usually somewhere between 8 to 16 players. Mm-hmm. So all of that's been managed. So once again, retrogib.com, get more details about Unreal Tournament 2004.
If I didn't have to go to a big family thing tonight, I would be playing this today. Because now that we got a proper map rotation, I am hungry for this.
Yes. It is. Leafy Lake was the one that we set up on the Roller Coaster Tycoon server. Correct me. I forgot.
Someone in the chat.
I couldn't remember what it was.
Well, it's, there's a lot going on. It's fine.
Yeah, a lot going on. Just a couple of things that are important to me. I've been working on my retro achievements, especially after pre-ordering the Nintendo World Championship NES edition. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I can't wait to start putting myself in there and competing against you, the listeners, and seeing what our best scores are. And so I went ahead and went over my retro achievements and update everything over there. I am mission deep on retro achievements. Follow me so that we can compare our stats for all of our retro games.
Your E-peen,
Scott.
You're going to show each other your E-peens. Yeah,
that's right. Look at this. I'm really good at this game.
Yep. Nothing like a big, strong E-peen. So get that out there and get that done. Also, we're doing some watch parties. Last week, we watched X-Men Animation, the original show from the original Hoo-Ha. 90s.
We watched the third episode. We watched the first two, then last week we watched number 3.
Yep, we're going to watch another one soon. It won't be today because I got this dumb party, but soon. And that's open to everybody. We do put the archive up for the patrons so they can see it. But if you are able to do it live, we do it in Discord, and we'll do that again next week. So watch for that. Our next discussion is going to be a little different. Let's jump into the PlayStation 1 a little bit. We're going to pop that lid. We're going to sit in there with our black discs,
Yes.
And we're going to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Ooh.
We might even talk about that weird N-Gauge version, the Game Boy Color version. I might even bring up the Game Boy Advance versions, which were, in my opinion, the best those games ever got.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Tony Hawk Skater in general has a long history. So there's a bunch of games out there, and I know people are going to be super excited going, what about this one in the underground? We're going to get to those. But next week, we're talking about the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, which I fell in love with almost immediately when I played this back in the day.
And that remake, the remake that is 1 and 2 that's out now.
Yeah. It's called Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2.
1+2, and it's really good.
1+2.
Really good. It's the last game that Vicarious Visions did before they got bought by Blizzard and made the remake of Diablo 2 Resurrected. Little background info for you there. Anyway, that's coming up next week. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, the originals, the OGs, and what that did to sports gaming moving forward. Big stuff, all right? Big stuff. And it looks like it's about to make a return if rumors are to be believed. We'll see.
I believe rumors.
I like rumors. They're fun to believe. Before I get out of here, though, let's make sure we mention a couple of brand new patrons, Jason Martin and Robert Milton. These dudes are brand new and joined us over there at patreon.com/playretro. And here's the best part. They get no commercials ever. They never have to hear those. They get pre-show content every week and other cool things. Why wouldn't they want to sign up? Why wouldn't you want to sign up? So head on over and help us out today at patreon.com/playretro. All other things are at playretro at frogpants.com/playretro. All right, all the links, everything you need. It's going to do it for us. Brian, is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
Yeah, Miyamoto, go.
Oh, that's great. I like that a lot. Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Please go play something retro. And we'll see you next time.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
Excitebike.
Excitebike.
Excitebike.